Well, good afternoon, this is Hound Dog Steve coming to you on the 2nd of June for a garden update, and please come take a tour around the garden with me and let's see what's going on. Okie dokie, there we go. Okay, so the beginning of the tour here, and this is my blackcurrant bushes, and you can see how many flowers there are on these bushes. And it'll be interesting to see how many actually turn into berries, because we have very limited pollinators this time of the year. They're just really starting to come out now, so that's going to be very interesting to see. Other than that, the front garden is doing very well. A few flowers, put some mint in there to compete with the grass. This plant here, by the way, is mullein, and it has a very soft leaf. I've been told that it actually makes excellent toilet paper as you're walking through the bush, and that grows into a tall, slender flower with a huge seed pod when it is done. The birds just love it. I love these natural feeders. This is the Japanese knotweed, by the way, and you can see how prolific this stuff is. But has that distinctive sort of rhubarb red and green stalk. Anyway, it grows up to about 8 feet tall, and it's a great sound barrier, but as I say, it is incredibly invasive. So you have to keep this stuff basically where you contain it, as it's contained here. It's interesting, this year I've been given all kinds of little goodies, and this is a gooseberry bush. I just transplanted that the other day, and next door to that are some yellow raspberries, a pair of them there. I love this bush, it's such a pretty little bush in the springtime, and of course it's got lots of flowers for the pollinators. Now here's another gooseberry bush and another yellow raspberry. So here are the lettuce. You can see they've overcome their transplant shock, and they're now into their second set of leaves, which tells me that they are going to do well. Tomatoes also, the red leaf lettuce. Now I'm a little surprised at the grapevine here. You can see some new growth at the bottom, and there is a leaf coming out on the side here, right here. However, I don't see anything else happening up here, so I'm wondering if it's had a tough time this winter. Anyway, I'm going to leave it up, so we will see. I'm not going to trim it back yet. We'll see what we shall see. Beets, lettuce. Now the beans that I planted, I had to replant, because I think it was just cold and wet. They just didn't germinate. Although this set of beans, the Fort William heirloom beans, they did come up. Anyway, I've got enough there to get a good seed crop off. Now I'm going to give a little plug for this company. It's called Superior. It's called the Insect Destroyer House and Garden. It's basically silicone dioxide, or some people call it diatomaceous soil. This is crushed shells, and it is an excellent bug killer. It's non-toxic, completely organic, and what's more is it's fairly transparent, so it doesn't obstruct any sunlight from getting to the leaves, and you'll find that this works for just about any kind of bug there is. And speaking of bugs, here are the potatoes. They've all come up except for one row over there in that far bed, and I'm not quite sure why it didn't come up. I put in some of those little potatoes that you can buy in the supermarket, and I'm kind of wondering now if they've been irradiated. The onions have done well. I got about 100% out of them this year. You don't always get that. Now here is a couple of things here. This plant here, this is a dock plant, but this, when it's fully grown, will have a long single stalk, it'll have a red center, almost like a rust colored center down that center vein of that leaf. And the reason I'm mentioning it, because I have nettles, and when you have nettles, everyone should know that the dock plant is the remedy. So when you get a nettle sting, you rub it on the skin where the nettle stung you, and that will relieve the itch. And another very handy medicinal, this is plantain. And I've seen some absolute miracles worked with plantain. It grows in just about everyone's garden. So chew that up if you have a wound of any kind. Pick some of these leaves, chew them up, and make a poultice, and you will find that the healing properties of this plant are staggering. The settlers, when they first came to North America, brought this plant with them because it was so useful. You can eat the leaves as a kind of lettuce, as in greens, or you can cook them. Full of iron, very good for you. Okay, the flowers are off the cherry tree, and I see at least one little cherry forming there. Oh no, there's 2 or 3. Look at that, we're going to get some cherries this year. Look at that. And here are some more yellow raspberries. I always like to keep the raspberries contained because they can grow a little wild too. Now, what could be an issue in the years to come is water issues. And you can see how I've rigged up all of my eaves trough to collect as much possible water as I can. Because we can suddenly go from wet to very, very dry in a heartbeat. And there's more water barrels. And you're probably not going to be able to see, but there are some minnows in these water barrels, and they will eat all of the mosquito larvae that lands in there, that hatches in there, and they'll also live on the algae. I don't know if you can see on the inside of the barrel, it's already forming algae from the sunlight, and those minnows will eat that algae along with anything else that falls in there that they can digest. And then in the fall, when I'm done, well, I just go fishing. Getting lots of asparagus now. It's coming up good and strong, and that tells me the ground really has warmed up. We're looking good now. And you can see the peas. They've reached their first little clinging on point, and it looks like we're going to have some strawberries pretty shortly. These plants have really settled in. You can tell by the nice big healthy looking leaves that they just love this soil. This is my second year with these particular plants, and they're looking really clean. Look at that, no discoloration on the leaves. We are good to go. These are the radishes and kale. 2 rows of each. Dill, and the spearmint's coming on. Cilantro's coming on. And this has been the chore of today, is to get this little area cleaned up and ready for the new raised bed to be built around it, the wooden structure. That is going to begin next week. Garlic is doing well. So all in all, I'm pretty pleased with the state of the garden right now. The raspberries are looking bright and healthy. So now, for some reason, the peas I planted in this bed didn't grow, although you can see that the Jersey cabbage is doing just fine. Anyway, so I am going to plant some beans in here, and of course these are my Spanish onions, and I see I've got a couple of seed pods on there, and as soon as they break out into cloves, I will be picking them and sending them off to a very nice person, a viewer who sent me some Algonquin pumpkin seeds from Zone 3B. This is Catherine Gagney, and she lives in Quebec, and I thank you so much for that seed swap. And as I say, if you'll be patient, it's probably going to take about another 4 or 5 weeks, and those cloves will be done. I'll put some in a box for you, and I'll pop them into the post so that you can grow them for next year. And that was it. Simple as that. Happy gardening. This is Hound Dog Steve signing off. See you later now. Take care. Bye.